Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, friend.
Olá.
I'm here with my band Quartabê. This is Maria Beraldo, Joana Queiroz, Chicão, and I'm Maria Portugal. We are at Kleine Alle Zen in Meurs. This is another edition of HÖMMA, our series of interviews with the guests. And it's very funny to speak in English with these people because they are my friends and we speak only Portuguese. But we will try. It's a nice exercise to speak in English.
Today's lesson, speaking in English between
yes.
us.
Too bad we cannot try in German.
Yes, too bad. So, somebody can talk about the beginning of the band.
Joanna.
Joanna.
Okay. The three of us, the women part of the Quartabê, we play together in a project by a very important composer from São Paulo called Arrigo Barnabé. And there was one concert which has been curator of a festival that is made in homage to another great composer already dead from Brazil called Moacir Santos. So this woman that helped organize this festival asked us to make one concert on his music, playing only his music to play in this festival. And that was the first concert Quartabê did. So it was already with this idea of having one composer that we would study and try to make versions of his music, but already thinking about making another view of the music. And we did already something that was very different from the original, and we liked it very much and decided to keep the band. So
yes, and the name Quartabê, which is something kind of well, it's not actually, you can't translate because it's like fourth grade B from school. So it's like fourth grade B, yes, fourth B. Yeah, that's it. It's like we are a classroom, and we are like kids in the classroom, maybe 10 years old, something like that, 8 to 10. And we like to study, but we also like to play a lot and play with the study, and it's all kind of the same thing, playing, studying, like these children here in kindergarten. It's the same. them and us we are the same. And I would like you to talk about Totoro a little bit.
okay. Who knows Totoro? Do you know Totoro? He's a character from I don't know how to say desenho animado.
Anime.
Anime. Yeah.
A movie of an anime, but how to say when it's not Japanese? Just.
But it is Japanese.
Drum, like drum music
movie.
Drum movie. Okay, you understand.
Movie for kids.
Animation.
Called, I think it's My Neighbor Totoro. My Neighbor Totoro. It's about a family that comes to live in a farm, and it's an abandoned farm. And the children, there are two little girls, they start to get to know about the places near the farm, and they are a little scared because they feel that there are already many things that live in
a haunted farm.
That live in that space, like mysterious energies that they start to get to know. And one of them is Totoro, that is like a very good friend.
Yeah, because they are in a really difficult moment because their mother is in the hospital, and I think he comes to help them.
Yes. I've seen recently Shihiro. Wow, it's amazing.
Yes, from the
It's
same director.
Yes. But it's kind of a horror movie,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, yes.
Very horror movie.
But you've never seen Shihiro?
No?
Ah.
But Totoro is very sweet, so I just decided that he could be a very good friend to be always taking care of us.
Yeah. And it does.
Yes.
It does.
And we are here in Merce to rehearsal our next album, right?
Yes.
Yes, we have a very unique type of developing a new work. So can you talk about it, Maria?
Yes, Joanna. Well, it's kind of complicated, right? No, it's not complicated. It's just that I think we are very democratic. We try to be very, as the most democratic we can be, right?
Yeah.
And because it's, I think the thing is that we are a horizontal group.
It's funny because I said, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's it.
Because I said that to Angelica, and she didn't understand, and she was like, "What do you mean that you you rehearse a line in the floor, but you are all horizontal?"
You know,
We rehearse to lie down.
you don't have this expression here.
I don't
like-
think so. No, she didn't understand. It was not the first person that didn't understand.
Well, it means that we don't have a leader, that everybody works together and we try to build things, everybody together.
And all the decisions we made together,
And we test all the ideas. This is very important.
Yeah.
Because in other groups, I felt that we were competing about who was right and who was wrong, and verbally, and not playing. And Quartabê was very revolutionary for me because we tested all the material, and this was like, oh.
it's like a rule. We have to try all the ideas. We have to play it, not discard without playing.
Because then we can really feel like, okay, I hear it, I maybe I don't like it very much, but we can try more. So it comes from the sound, and when everybody likes it, it's very nice. It's like yes, like music is happening. That's the way. So that's one possible path. But it's also very interesting that we have many different backgrounds. So and we already know each other well because we have been working a lot. Already about 6 years, I think almost 6 years.
Yeah.
So the ideas come. There are a lot of ideas coming from each one, and I don't know. We didn't have anything 3 days ago, and we have already a lot of things done in these 3 days. It's kind of magic.
Yes, it's true.
And before talk about our process, it's good to tell that we have 3 albums. Lesson 1, the first one is about Moacir Santos that Joanna said, and the second is a EP about Moacir Santos too, but with lyrics, with singers. Our first is instrumental, and then we changed our professor. It's lesson 2, our third album. Dorival Caymmi, and this album we are composing now here in Morse is our 4th album, is a EP again about the music of Dorival Caymmi again, and with lyrics and singing. We are singing now.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe yes. And Maria.
Hello.
Hello. tell us about
What?
about. No, I was thinking.
Democracy. No.
No, actually not. But I was thinking about that questions I've read yesterday. Right, I read those 27 questions that Buckhart Binds and other two guys that I can't remember the name did, and there is this question which is well, it's a. I'm gonna explain. It's a list of questions to start. So it's not actually to be answered, but to start thinking about the work that someone is doing. And there's this question about is our music gender, location, political oriented or not? And we answered, we were reading that and we answered, of course it is. And I was thinking about this thing of Quartabê, which is, for me, I believe for all of us, it's very Brazilian, and at the same time, it's not Brazilian at all, in the sense that it's not typically Brazilian, or it's not what
exportation Brazilian.
Yeah, it's not like, it's not so the relation is not so it's not direct, right? It's like, it's not a samba band, and I don't know exactly what people expect when they come here, because they see Quartabê, maybe it's a Brazilian band, maybe they play Brazilian music, and it's very interesting because I believe 100% that we play Brazilian music, but at the same time, it's not, right?
No, I think it is.
Yeah.
Our only chance is to do Brazilian music. There's nothing else we can do because we are Brazilian.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and even we study really important composers for Brazilian culture, and so I think that like we're dealing with material that is really Brazilian, because like Dorival Caymmi has to do with everything that in like, of course, in a specifically recorte.
Specific
Cut.
In
frame.
Yeah, in a specific frame, but it's really, when you talk about MPB or Brazilian music, like the songs, it has a lot to do with Dorival Caymmi. So, and has a lot to do with samba and with things that are exported as that what you were talking about. So we like pick these roots and we make other things, but I think it's really Brazilian. Like you play Dorival's acoustic guitar in the drums. That's a way to study Brazilian rhythm, because his right hand is really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's there's something interesting there, because we are always thinking about that, if we are Brazilian or not, and in this music, musically speaking, I think everybody in Brazil has this. Well, not every musician, but it's a common thinking about if how do you say that? Am I doing Brazilian music or not? And I'm wondering if Americans ask themselves that, or even Germans. I mean, I can't see like German musicians like asking themselves, am I doing German music or not? Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Or Americans, am I doing American music or not?
Yeah.
Doesn't make much sense, but I think at a certain point there's expectation of delivering Brazilian music or breaking these expectations in not delivering Brazilian music?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's about the colonization. We are colonized, and we always thinking about being Brazilian. I don't know, because every culture, American, the imperialism,
No, but
massive.
I think also it's because Brazilian music is very rich, like folkloric music is very rich, and there are many very specific types of music that if we were doing that, like for example, if you were doing maracatu only, like or samba or choro, we wouldn't be asking this question because choro is Brazilian in period.
Mm-hmm.
But we do something that's more open, that mixes things, and also that's very creative, like from a very open perspective, like many possibilities. And it also mixes with the different types of music, like free jazz, I don't know, or classical music. And so I think it's something specific about what we do. Maybe German could be asking, or even Brazilian, am I playing jazz? Because jazz is nothing, it's not also, something that's really part of Brazilian music. It is, there is Brazilian jazz, but I don't know, it's something from another culture. Or am I playing rock? Really? Like, I don't know.
But I think that has to do with what Chicão said, because when Stravinsky went to pick others' music and he made others' music his music, like it was Stravinsky's, even if that notes weren't like grown from his head. He went somewhere and listened it, and I think that happens with United States too. Like they go around the world and everything is jazz. Mm-hmm. Everything that is from other cultures and they play becomes jazz. Even Brazilian music. So I think it's about politics, and we don't feel like we have the
right.
Yeah, the right to say it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
And that when you started to talk about that, I was thinking too that thing about fronteira, border. Yeah, that's a really, it has something nice about our question and about about being colonized, and we have like access to another way of seeing the world that the first world can't have that, like that vision. And I think that border stuff is really something that we have to
erase.
Yeah, because it doesn't exist, and it exists.
Yeah.
So I think it's something to like, while we are still having border, the planet is gonna be like this, and not exactly, but I think it's a way to think like this is mine, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I like actually. I think that speaking like more philosophically or trip in a trippy way. I think the borders are important because it's important, not the borders nation of the nations, but it's important to have these limits of where I finish and where you start, but how these borders are made. I think it's a very interesting thing to think. For example, you can think like a border which is like a cell border, which is not. It's like it's very how do you say that? Like permeável.
Permeável. Essa
Yeah, you can translate.
Permeável. It's like a border that separates the self from the environment, but at the same time permits a lot of communication between the environment and the self or the self. And the skin is like that, right? we think about the skin as being as something which is very not permeável, rigid, but it's actually very permeável.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice, like, to think these limits as
Are
something
movable.
movable and flexible and permeável.
But with the differences of the cultures.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yes,
Maria
after
was talking about
yeah.
the nation borders.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and the way it was made, because it's economical, and it's about domination. Like, this is mine, and not about culture or. But yeah, I don't know actually if I think we shouldn't have borders, but I think the way it is in the world is really.
Yes.
It's not connected with the reality.
Yeah, of course.
Because you don't, like, when you finish Brazil and you start Uruguay, like, it's a quarter, like,
Almost
street,
the same
a
city
street.
that
Yeah. the culture hasn't that line.
Uh-huh.
It's economical
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
political, and like we did a Brazil in America do Sul, South America, is awful. Like,
Yeah, if you think about the indigenous areas,
Yeah.
that they don't even speak Portuguese or Spanish. They speak their own languages in a vast area that has a line in the middle, and it's very crazy because they have to subject themselves to two different governments, completely different. So it's very insane.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the borders not always are related to the culture itself. It's more political and has to do with other things that are not culture.
With domination, as well as like the borders in music. Like, is this Brazilian? Is this jazz? That's political, actually, I think.
Yeah, yeah. When is some music universal, and when is some music local, right?
Universal is jazz because they are the
Yeah.
who owns the world.
Yeah, I don't believe in this musical universality. That I think a lot of musicians like to talk about that, and it seems very beautiful as an idea, like to say that music connects all people because it's beyond language and blah blah. But I really don't believe that. I believe that people can connect. People from different cultures can maybe connect with, I don't know, like Japanese and tango, for example, which is like there a lot of Japanese that loves tango, and it's like a very different culture. But I don't believe in such thing as musical universality. I think it's full of codes, and we relate to music as we relate with anything else,
I also think it's a very specific language, each style with their codes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times it was something that we were talking, like, even when you are really close to some other culture, like in São Paulo we have a lot of countries, if you're going to say like socially, and we were talking about going to Japan maybe, and you find a lot of people that you know, or like coming to Germany and meet people that studied with you in your like jazz or the sei lá like classical music. This actually are borders too, as well as
the country.
Yeah, because if you are in São Paulo, if you go to Zona Leste, or if you go to any periferia, como é que é periferia? Like in São Paulo, there are a lot of if you move from the center of São Paulo, you find a lot of music that you will not connect necessarily with that. Like, you will not meet people that make music as you, or you don't know those people. And if we come to German, we can meet people we already know, because it's another border. It's about it's a social and economic border, and enfim.
And also cultural, yeah.
Yeah, and cultural too.
It's not only the lines of the country that makes this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money is who makes the the lines.
And also like how, yeah, because there are many things that define what you like or what you choose. It's not only your your taste, but it has to be with that also, like you meet people that identify with the same type of music as you. Like in Japan, we found a lot of people that liked our music, and we are more connected with them than people from some places in Brazil that we don't really know about.
And that's what you started talking about, if our music is like puts that we are women, white from Brazil, so I think actually it does.
Yes, yes. No, I totally agree, and I think every music is like that, even because there is this neutrality of the authors, like this authorial neutrality that nowadays we are finally putting this in check. You know, like one can never be neutral, never. So it's impossible to do a universal music, and it's impossible to analyze something neutrally from a neutral point of view, or there's always the narrator is always a person with a history, with a
point of view,
with prejudices, with limitations and tastes, and
yes. But music does have also this magic.
This magic, the sound of music feels alive.
That sometimes some things happen.
Yeah, sometimes some things happen.
I agree.
That you just play like for someone that never heard that before, and
Yes.
she just feels something strong
Yes.
about it. And
You're right.
It can connect people. I think if if we gave more attention to music, and like Brazil is a country who doesn't invest in music, and that's really bad for our society. It's really important for people, for like our growing like
Yes, music education.
yes.
Yeah, and music, like, it's not necessarily education, but you have the theaters with como é que é a programação? Schedule. With concerts happening, or parties with music, and if you had money for that, it would be another society where people would like spend time doing this, and
More people. And also more people playing instruments and being able to have profit of this thing that is like having a part in all this music, and it's so good. Yeah, it's in Brazil, even if politically there is not this thinking, like the music is so very strong and it's very live.
Yeah, of course.
But it's difficult. It could be much more. It could be.
Yes, and one of our richest thing in our culture, like funk and happy, like funk especially, the police goes at the parties where the funk is growing and is like producing culture. That's something really important for our culture, and they kill people. So they are destroying our richest thing. Like that, it's our music and our people and our dance and
Yes. Yeah. Or this carnival also, it seems that it was like that, like police all the time, stopping people in the streets. We are in a very bad moment, politically speaking, in Brazil. But we will keep going.
yes.
Do you want to say something else?
A gente não falou do processo, né? Do como a gente faz de ouvir,
É que
contar do disco.
você que sabe, né? Se, qual que é o objetivo.
Vamos falar um pouquinho sobre o processo. So, we will we will talk a little bit about the process of our last albums. Actually, the last album and this one, right? Because the band has changed a bit because we started. Yeah, we took a little time to find our thing, right? To find our way. I don't know if we have found it yet, but
we're looking for
way. But I think we found something at least,
yes.
Something to perceive, and the thing is that we like to take these musical totems, like these composers, which are very important. And in case of Dorival Caymmi, he's in Brazil at least. He's a very known composer, and at least for a certain generation or certain generations. And I think we like to play with the, how to say, like with the ability of the listener to identify or not the sounds, right? I remember now a text that I read of a composer, electroacoustic composer called Denis Smalley. It's very nice, and he talks about this power of recognition as another parameter, musical parameter. He was talking about concrete music, of course, like acousmatic music, but it's interesting because it's different when you take, like, for example, a sound of a train passing. If you put the sound as it is, or you filtrate and you process the sound in a way that it can be like more or less recognized, and this is also a musical parameter. And I think we do kind of the same thing, or we did at least in Lição 2.
Processing the music
Yeah.
that comes from those composers.
Yeah, and in different levels of recognition, right? So the structures appear and then go down again and then appear again. Well, actually, it's not something very new. It's like Beethoven's did that.
And that's very funny because it's very different the way that each person listens to it. Like there are people that say, "Wow, I felt very much as Dorival universe. I felt inside of his universe," and I don't know. Our sound engineer he said, "I didn't listen anything from Dorival. Maybe I recognized one tune or two."
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very, very different.
Yeah, and about our process, I think it's as we talked in the beginning, it's a process of learning and studying, and like listening a lot. It is a listening study. This group, maybe, I don't know, in a lot of senses. Yes, and like we try to know everything that composer made and choose things and like understand. It's like a synthesis too, like understand what he did, like his like in terms of melody and harmony and rhythm, And what does this song be from Dorival? What can we take off of it? Like you can sometimes don't play that tune, don't play the melody, don't play the chords, don't play the rhythm, and it still is Dorival. So it has to do with that, and what makes that music be what it is, that like the identity of it. I think that's what we did in Lição 2. Like we made a synthesis of Dorival for us from our
perspective. Yeah. One possible synthesis. Even for us.
Yeah, and it seems that this Repescagem, this next EP, maybe it's going to be a little different, right?
Yes, totally, I think.
Yeah.
But
the process is totally different from Lesson 2. Lesson 2.
But it has also the same spirit.
No, because it's Dorival, but in Lesson 2 we took the samples and improvising with all them, and we created the tracks from these improvisations with the samples we choose from, and now we are trying to arrange the
tunes.
Yeah, the tunes, not improvising with all the samples we collected and
make a one composition of a lot of tunes. Like we treated it. In Lição 2 we treated it like one only composition, and this time we are like doing something more conventional.
It's like coming back for Lesson 1.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But also Lesson 2, it happened that way. It wasn't something that we decided before. We just
more or less.
But I remember that when we thought, oh, it's gonna be only one tune. And wow, we didn't think about that before.
Yeah, but I remember the sensation of don't wanting to do
a tune.
Like I don't want to do we don't want to do this arrangement for a tune.
Yeah, the tune separated, but also we only after we had made it we thought about it and thought, oh, that's our composition.
Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't something that we realized before.
Yeah, and it's interesting in Lesson 2, that this play with recognition and not the recognition is also a play with authority and authority. What is Dorival's and what is ours, and you can't really tell. It's very interesting, and I felt today that we were rehearsing that we talked about the remixes. I think that maybe this EP now, this Repescagem, has something of a remix of the lesson 2, because we use like kind of the same structures, at least in the drums, on the drums.
Saudades da Lição 2.
And
we use some ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
More because like we used channels, like we use like a drum channel, you know, like our remix is like a DJ gets an open session of a track, and he has these tracks of the instruments
that you can rearrange.
Yeah,
nice.
But I think it's also because we didn't talk about that, but this EP is inspired by Suíte dos Pescadores, which was released in '57 already with this idea of connecting many different ideas from other tunes.
Sí. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yes.
That in the arrangement that we are not really sure, but it can be by Luciano Perrucci. I don't know, but it has this. Well, it connects many different tunes by Dorival, making one piece of all these tunes, but also the arrangements that creates the connections between them has many information from other tunes by him, so it has a lot to do with what we do.
It's like the original Dorival is the original Suíte dos Pescadores. It's like our lesson 2.
Yes. That actually we didn't use
Yes.
to switch any of
Yes.
the tunes. Interesting.
Interesting. Good.
Good, not bad.
Good, not bad. Thank you very much, my dear friends. I love you. Oh, I love you, people. You're the best band in the world.